Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and we're going to check out 5 knives. But besides that, I want to do a little bit of a sharpening talk. Now, this is the Spyderco Lil Native. First time I've ever had one in hand, and it's in for sharpening. Now, I want to show one side of the bevel, and then I'm going to show the other side of the bevel. And it's also going to have to do with a couple other knives on this list that we're going to check out. So some of this episode is going to have a lot to do with sharpening. So let's get into it. Now the Spyderco Lil Native, this one's in Rex 45. Awesome steel. Love the steel. And this is an awesome little knife. It reminds me a lot of my Chaparral, just a little bit beefier. And it has the compression lock. So for a little tiny knife, I mean, this thing is well built. And you get a 4-finger grip, even though it is a small cutting edge. You know, the type of cutting edge this is lets you get those fine details, you know, because you have a lot of control over this little tiny blade. Then you have the compression lock, which everybody knows is really awesome. You know, it's it's very fidgety, very it can be very drop shutty, you know, gives you a lot of fidget factor, and it's a really strong locking mechanism. Now we have a reversible wire clip, which, you know, wire clips just work so good, especially for little knives like this. I mean, yeah, this thing's really awesome. I do really like it. And, you know, like I said, this is the first time I've gotten to check out one of these. And yeah, I think they're awesome. I haven't spent a lot of time with it or anything because it's only in for sharpening, and I did just get it. However, so what I did here is when we look at this side, you'll see this side of the edge has been honed and possibly, you know, sharpened up a little bit. And some of the angles it's small, so it's hard for me to show you. And we are going to put a magnifying glass and check out what a burr looks like under a magnifying glass. But, you know, the edge angle, which I'm going to show you here in a second on another knife, you know, it's been changed a lot trying to hone or sharpen the edge. Now, that can happen a lot from honing because a lot of times when you hone, you actually don't put your edge exactly at the same angle it was already on. But now you'll see this side I sharpened. Not completely, but I sharpened it, and I created a burr on the other side to show you what it should look like off of your first stone. So if you look at this, you can see it's perfectly flat. All the grip pattern starts from the top of the bevel and goes all the way down to the very apex of the edge. Now at the tip, there's a little bit of shouldering I need to take care of, but besides that, this is how it should look off of your first stone. You should have it nice and even. So no lines running back and forth or anything like that. It should be straight lines going straight down from the top of the bevel to the very tip of the apex. Now, if we grab this magnifying glass and take a nice close look of it, then you can see how even those lines are from the top of the bevel all the way down to the bottom. It looks very coarse because it is. That's 140 grit. Now, you might be wondering why it's small back here and bigger over here. That's just because the blade thickness changes. It's thin here, and then it gets thicker here, and then it gets a little thinner right here. So the thickest point is right here. And that's why the bevel is the biggest right there. Now, when we flip it over, we can take a look at what a burr looks like. So you can see the very tip of the edge has a wire on it, and it looks incredibly rough. Now that is the steel that rolled over to the other side, and that steel is the burr. Now you could get on your stone and create a burr right away. And that doesn't mean you should automatically flip to the other side and start sharpening. What you should be paying attention to even more than the burr is your grip pattern. You want to pay attention to how your grip pattern starts at the top of the bevel and goes all the way down to the very tip of the apex. Now, if you start getting a burr right away, it's because you're starting from the apex and working your way up to the top of the edge bevel, but you still want to make sure that the grip pattern covers the entire edge because that's what you should be chasing more than the burr. If you understand how the grip pattern goes and you understand how covering the entire edge bevel with your new angle and your new grip pattern, then you will know when your burr's about to happen, or if it already has happened, that's okay. You can continue working until the grip pattern completely covers the edge bevel. Then you flip and work on the other side. Now you can do both sides at the same time, as long as the end result is the grip pattern, covering the entire edge bevel from heel to toe, from the top of the bevel to the very apex of the knife, or very apex of the edge. Now when we look at this knife, this one's not in for sharpening, but it could definitely use a sharpening. And if you look at it, you can see all the things I was just mentioning. You see the lines right there? You see how you don't see the grip pattern from the top of the bevel all the way down to the apex? Now what that's from is from sharpening and changing angles. So I'm sharpening here, and then as I'm sharpening, I start lifting, or I might drop a little bit. It's from changing angles constantly. But if I focused and I kept the exact same angle the whole time, you would get this instead. So if we look at them both together, by the way, this is the Bestech Hornet. We'll talk about it here in a second. But you can see all those lines running back and forth. All those are different angles. So you want to start with a very low coarse grit and get it to look like this first before you move to a higher grit or a different stone. And if it looks like that, then you know you're on the right path. When it starts looking like this, you know you're convexing and you're moving around a lot. Now, having a convex edge isn't bad, but you have to blend it all in, because what will happen now, this might come out very sharp, right? This one actually has a burr all the way up and down, and I haven't used this, just how it came. But what will happen is that, yeah, it might come out very sharp and it might cut very well, but you have fatigued steel on your edge. So what will happen is your edge won't last as long. You'll get micro chipping, lots of different things like that. Your edge basically just won't last. It'll go dull very quickly, even though it started out incredibly sharp. So, but this is the Bestech Hornet. It is a pretty cool knife. I'll say it's very comfortable in this grip right here. We have a liner lock. The action is so good on this thing. It really smacks out. And you have a nice choil, so you get nice and close to the blade. You can ramp your thumb right down the ramp right here. This does get a little pokey, but you can live with it. And the drop on it is very smooth. You have the reverse flicking action as well. Liner, you have good access to the liner. So the liner actually has a pretty good access. And you have a weird looking clip. I haven't carried it, but it's a clip. You do have quite a bit hanging out of your pocket, but I guess it'll give you something to pull in and out of the pocket pretty easily. But yeah, cool knife. These are pretty affordable, and man, they are just super comfortable in the hand. And I believe this is D2. Yes, D2 steel. Let's check out the next one. Now the next one, we have something similar. Or you know what? First we'll check out this one, then we'll move to that one. So this is the how do I pronounce it? Comoran, the Comoran K011 tie, I think is what it is. Now, I'll say this. I found these for only around like 50, 60 bucks, which is an incredible value. It has titanium frame lock that is anodized. And I mean, this one's definitely loved on. Glass breaker on the back. It is a strong, rock solid frame lock. Nice and smooth. Great action. It is robust. The blade is definitely robust. And I also found one that's very similar with a drop point blade for around the same price. Now, I'll link it below, but I warn you right now, don't buy that one that I linked below, because the one I linked below, it's going to be like $120 or something. I might not even link it, because you can get these for like 60 bucks. I think it was Knife Center or White Mountain Knives, one of the two. I'll throw it up on the screen exactly where I seen it at. So if you're going to buy one, for that price, which is a great price. Buy it from there. Do not use my link, because that is just, you know, you can get it for less than half the price. Now, the knife itself is pretty cool. It's using U2X steel, which is basically like a 440C. But for this price, for around 50-60 bucks for a titanium anodized frame lock, I mean, that's a damn good price. So, nice and solid. It is a harder use knife, and I mean that because of the grind. And, you know, it is a nice, strong, tough frame lock. It has a steel lock bar insert, which is, you know, to protect the lock bar from getting lock stick or anything like that. It's steel on steel lockup instead of titanium on steel. And then it has a nice stone wash Tonto. But like I said, there is a drop point version. Now, the fuller you cannot use. It just doesn't work, you know, but the flipping action is really good. And for the price, man, you can't beat it. All right, let's get to the next one. Now, this next one, I have actually reviewed these before, but I think these knives are so awesome. The CJRB Ria. Talk about an awesome little knife. Such a good little gent knife. I should have put this in my best CEO category, because this is such a good CEO knife. I mean, it does kind of resemble a pen in the pocket, but even if it doesn't, I mean, it's just a cool little knife. You get a 4-finger grip. It's nice and slicey, really good blade shape. The action is really good. The detent is super well tuned. The access to the lock bar could be a little bit better. It's kind of like the CEO, but it is better than the CEO. I'll give it that, because it does protrude a little bit on this side, so you actually do have something to unlock. The blade steel is ARRPM9 steel, Artisan's proprietary steel. We have a titanium clip, although I'm not sure if all of them come with the titanium clip, but there are different models of this. So just so you guys know, there's G10 models. This one is their coral micarta, but they have other micarta versions. I think the green micarta it looks really nice. That's my favorite one. But yeah, awesome knife, and it's relatively affordable too. So the only thing is you only have thumb action, one thumb stud on one side. So. And then, last but not least, the Giantmouse Ace Riv. Now, these knives are about to go back to its owner, so I'm just trying to get them a little more attention than they got. The flipping action on this is okay, but I'll say this, man, the detent is so strong. This is such a small flipper tab. I hate the flipper tab. I hate it. I like the reverse flicking action. Nice, strong detent, and it comes out with a thwack. But it is a small, compact knife. You can get a 4-finger grip with the choil, which is it's a decent choil. So it is a nice little knife. And, you know, this blade shape is really good for, you know, kind of like I was saying with the little native, you know, it's kind of for those finer tasks, and it'll work really good for that stuff. We have an M390 blade with a titanium frame lock and backspacer. I think this is a brass backspacer, by the way. But we have a steel lock bar insert. The access to the lock bar is nice. Very easy to disengage. The detent is a little late on the unlocking, but you can get past it if you're better than me. It's not fall shutty or drop shutty, but you can easily slap it shut. It's very similar to the Ace Biblio, just a tiny version of it. That's basically what it is. It's a tiny Ace Biblio. You do even have the jimping that's a little bit farther up on the blade, you know, which is actually probably a little bit better position for it than back here, because you'll never be holding it back here. So beautiful plunge grind. This thing will definitely take a really good edge. I know even my Ace Biblio took really good edges. We have a wire pocket clip that is not reversible, so you do have to carry it, or you don't have to, but it carries right hand. But the clip works really good. Now, action for lefties, not so good. You do lock yourself out. The detent is incredibly strong, so for lefties, this is probably not a good option. I'm sorry, guys. You guys can flip it, but you got to be careful of that lock bar. But man, this flipper tab is just so slippery to me. I constantly just want to slip off of it. Yeah, it has a little bit of jimping, but the jimping is like so pushed up in there that it's like I'm wanting to grip it right here, and that's slippery. So I have to hook my finger around there and hook it. And that's just, you know, it's ridiculous. They almost should have just not had a flipper tab on it. But awesome little knife. It is well built. I'll give it that. You know, there are a lot of great things about it. The slow roll is really nice too if you pinch it out and then roll it. But yeah, there you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.